Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, we're going to talk again about motivation. Yes, that's right, that old chestnut called motivation. That old chestnut is an idiom we often use in English. It is something which describes a memory or perhaps a challenge which comes up in our thoughts again and again. For example, if you and your friends are having coffee and you mention that you really don't like your work, one of your friends might say, "Aha, that old chestnut," meaning, yeah, I've heard that before. This is something you've said before. It's not used in a negative way. It's just describing the idea that this is not the first time something has come up. That old chestnut comes up again and again. That old chestnut or this old chestnut can also be used in an argument. If you're fighting with your husband, wife, son, or daughter, and you accuse them of something like not putting their clothes away, then they might say, "Aha, that old chestnut, yeah, you're never happy about that." So this old or that old chestnut is something that's used to describe something which comes up again and again. I'm using it today because motivation is something which appears to be troubling for many people. For those of you who know me, you probably know that I believe that motivation is something which is always with us. Many people say, "Oh, I'm not motivated to do that. I just don't have the motivation to do it." But the truth is, if you had love for that thing, you would do it. Let me give you an example. You get up in the morning time, you stagger out of your bedroom, you head for the kitchen, you put on the coffee machine, and you get the cat food ready to feed the cats. At the same time, you're on autopilot. This just means that you're doing something that you do every morning, something which doesn't require a lot of thoughts. You're on autopilot, you get the coffee, you stagger through to the living room, you sit down, you pick up your telephone, and you immediately begin to check your emails, the news, or Facebook. You light up a cigarette, 2 hours pass, and you think, "Oh, I haven't done any English." What's the problem there? Is it really motivation? Because you were motivated enough to get out of bed, or probably the cat forced you, to stagger to the kitchen, and then to look at Facebook and the emails. So motivation is there, it's just not aimed at English. So we need to get rid of this idea which says that motivation is not present. Oh, motivation is there, all right. Motivation to look at Facebook, motivation to do other things. So then the question is, well, why am I not learning English? And you found that you've already made lots of excuses. I don't have the time, I don't feel motivated. If you really had love for it, and if you really wanted to do it, then you would. I remember an Indian friend. We were having a conversation, and he invited me for dinner. And in a very British polite way, as we always say, I said to him, "Well, thank you for the invite. I really, really would love to come to your dinner, but I'm so busy today that unfortunately I can't." And his response was very interesting. He said, "Well, if you would really, really love to come, then you would do it." So it seems very strange that you would say you would love to do it, then say that you won't do it. So why don't you just come for dinner if you would really, really love to do that? And we spoke about it for a while, and I soon realized that the things that I have to do are not that important. I could do them in the afternoon and then go to his house and have dinner with his family. Do you see how easy it is to use language to find excuses for procrastinating, for doing nothing, basically? So, getting back to my point. Firstly, motivation is always there. If you're motivated to get up and do something else that isn't learning, you can't use motivation as an excuse. So, the reason why you didn't learn English and instead chose to read the newspaper or Facebook or smoke a handful of cigarettes may be related to time. It could be that you woke up tired or without joy. Well, there's an easy way to fix that. If you want to wake up happy, simply go to bed that way. Maybe take some time to relax before you hit the sack. Hit the sack, by the way, is an English idiom to talk about when you go to bed. You hit the sack. Presumably, because in the old days, before beds were invented, people actually slept in sacks. Sacks, S-A-C-K-S. So the issue could be mood. The issue could be time. Maybe you need to have those 2 hours on Facebook or watching TV to get you going. I'm not criticizing you for that. We all need moments of time to relax, and maybe that's yours. But it just means that you've not really planned your day properly. And you can't blame motivation for that. It could also mean that you have to reassess your priorities. Why are you learning English? Is it bringing you joy? And frankly, if you're waking up in the morning and doing everything around the house except learning, there might be a reason for that. And maybe it's time to reassess your ideas regarding learning. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It doesn't mean that you won't do it. But maybe it just needs to be a little bit higher in your daily priorities. Staying on the subject of time, it could simply be that you haven't planned your time properly. And if going to work at 8:30 in the morning and not returning to your home at 8 or 9 in the evening, it doesn't leave a lot of room for learning. Could it be that perhaps you could use your learning when you're traveling? Or could it be that maybe you could have an MP3 of audio recordings you can listen to while you're at work? Learning doesn't have to be painful, but you have to get it in there somehow with your time. So I would suggest to you that looking at your schedule and coming up with a time when English works for you would be a very good place to start. Especially if you feel there's no motivation there. Because as I mentioned before, motivation is always there. But that motivation is to do things that you love. Let's just recap on what I've been saying so far. Motivation is always there. So you can't use that really as an excuse to say, oh, I can't learn, I'm not motivated. Your motivation will always point towards creativity. That includes learning. But if you find that somehow or other learning just doesn't happen, it's more likely because of time or because of your schedule. If it's not because of your time or schedule, then it's something to do with your ambitions and why you think English should be in your life. The last point is perhaps the most difficult, because many of us think we need something. Then after a few months we think, wow, no, actually, for whatever reason, I don't want to continue doing this. Sometimes we need little reminders, and we can write out on small cards that we can carry with us, or on flashcards, or even as phone reminders, why we are choosing to do things on a particular day. For example, I want to learn English today because I know that it will bring me joy. I want to learn English today to prove to myself that I can continue learning. I want to learn English today because I want to teach my son or daughter English. I want to learn English today because at one point in my life, I want to have that hope and dream of immigrating to a new country. When you're getting up in the morning, staggering to the kitchen, it's not that those dreams aren't there, it's just that you've lost sight of them for a second or two, perhaps because of other things on your mind. For me personally, as a teacher, I found that the most successful language learners are those who can switch off their thinking for a little bit. For example, if you can find even 5 minutes to close your eyes and silence your mind, that will give you a lot more energy. It will also allow you really to see your motivation and see where it's going, than spending 1 hour with an English book that you don't like. If you come at English from some kind of lack or some kind of need, because you feel that perhaps you're not getting anywhere, that also can be quite troubling. You need to learn to build upon what you already know. It's true that we all have voices in our heads which say, oh, this is terrible, I don't know this, I won't remember this. And those voices will always be there. But even if you know just a few words in English, or if you're able to hear a few things in English, then you have a very good building block there, and you can build upon what you already know. But if you're coming at this saying, oh, I'm bad, I'm useless, I'm terrible, I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it, that really isn't a very good, solid platform for continuing. It doesn't mean that you have to give up English and move to the top of a mountain wearing an orange robe and sitting there forever in some kind of penance. It simply means that you need to reassess your priorities, and more importantly, you need to reassess your learning experience. The learning experience comes not from how much you can cram into your mind, but it comes from your joy level. And that's a great way to measure how you're doing, how joyful you feel at any moment. Well, these are just a few random thoughts about being motivated. I hope you found them useful. Let's talk again soon. Bye.